to Russ because he's great. So I was gonna record a little something on the porch today because I ain't been on the porch in a minute, and I don't know why. I feel like it didn't happen in the past, but ever since last year, like bees or wasps or hornets or whoever they are, they like to nest around the house, and I feel like we didn't used to have this problem. So I'm like chilling on the porch, sent some snaps to one of my friends. Um, and then I hear like this buzz around, like go behind me. I'm like, okay, I'll scoot up. I'll be nice. And then I look down, and I notice there's some little thingies caught in the spider web. I'm like, spiders too. And I'm like, okay, I'll deal with it. Ooh, mystery card. Um, And then I hear the buzzing come back, and it's not like no one's ever been stung by them. They just like to nest around here for some reason. Um, and ooh, more cards. The Eight of Pentacles. And yeah, I remember when the Hornet came out a few days ago, and it was like around the nest is usually pretty peaceful because they don't like they'll be there, but they don't like hunt there, so they're not usually that aggressive around the nest, right? And it's like they don't have to be aggressive. I just don't like that buzzing noise, especially like around my head. And like I'm trying to live my life, they trying to live their life. So I came back inside to the comfort of my room. The Divine Tower at the bottom of the deck. It's interesting because I thought this card might be the Tower. The Eight of Pentacles, a card came out face down. The Spirit of Pentacles. The Spirit of Pentacles, the Eight of Pentacles, and the Divine Tower. I don't know what this is about, but I had a weird dream last night. Or not a weird dream. I had an interesting dream that kept repeating. Like I woke up a lot last night and I decided to go back to sleep every time. So I had a lot of dreams. And after I had that first dream, a lot of them had that same sort of motif. And in the first dream, sometimes I'll dream and like I used to like dream and it would just like I would see a card. And then it was like I would just hear something. And now it's like it's kind of evolved a little bit. So I was pulling cards in a dream for some reason, and the Five of Pentacles came out. And I don't even know who I was reading for or what I was reading for, but the Five of Pentacles came out. And then three more cards came out after that. I believe the Three of Wands was one of them. And maybe the Two of Cups. I don't remember. Like after I woke up from that first dream, I was like, oh, I could grab my phone and use my dream journal that I haven't used in a while and put them down so I remember. And I was like, nah, I'm not going to do that. And so then I went to sleep and I had another dream that it was a dream that played off of the energy that came out. And I was like, I could, but I'll remember it because I've had this other dream. Yeah, this is my plight typically. So next time I might do the same. But it was like this push and pull energy, but it was something like getting further away from it is actually getting us closer. It was like we feel like we're in a Five of Pentacles, or it seems like we're shifting into a Five of Pentacles, but in reality, or in some other ways that we don't currently see, we're actually getting closer to something, getting closer to the fulfillment of something. I don't know. And then I had a few dreams that like it echoed and it mirrored that energy of like seeming like you're getting further away, but actually getting closer. Could that be this? I've seen the Spirit of Pentacles recently. I'll read it. We'll see what's up. There's the Six of Pennies. Spirit of Pentacles. Here we go. Okay. I've seen the Mandragora recently in the Ace of Pentacles at the end of the weekly release, and I don't remember the context that it came out in. I feel like it was with that Six of Wands Golem. It was the last time I saw the Golem, though. No, it was the Mandragora, right? The Queen of Pentacles and the Lovers. And it was that energy of it's like there's divine feminine specifically presence, or there's the presence of something that is either coming or it's already around us, but we don't recognize it because how we've been conditioned to view it. Because I remember it felt like the dryad and the succubus were the same, but it felt like we were conditioned to view it as a succubus, so we sort of feared it. But in reality, it was the dryad. And it's that element of like living earth. I believe it was the Mandragora, the Dryad, and the Succubus. Ace of Pentacles, Queen of Pentacles, Lovers. So I also have my overhead light on today to see if it does anything weird. Not that you can probably, well, you may be able to tell. Behave, please. The Spirit of Pentacles is represented by the axis mundi, the tree of life with roots going deep into the earth and branches rising high into the upper realms of consciousness. The light of the sun and the watery depths of the moon are established and foster growth and healing. The seeker is a true student of life. As the branches continue to grow and extend beyond the heights, so do the roots spread beneath the ground, seeking new places to settle and migrate. The Spirit of Pentacles propagates from his place of origin as the innocent makes the journey from birth through the many places of learning. The seeker is urged to understand that there is a time to stand firm as well as a time to move. They must not cave into pressures of lower standards or expectations, but neither should they stay bound to dry and decaying beliefs, which, like dead branches, yield no life. That's so funny because on the porch, I was looking at dead branches. Because the tree on the left, I used to be obsessed with the tree on the left and the tree on the right because there's two trees in the front. I was like, eh. But last year, I spent a lot of time on the porch because I needed it. Um, and I started to really notice the tree on the right. I was like, oh, well, I kind of like it's not that I like the tree on the right more than the tree on the left, but I'm starting to notice all these things about the tree on the right that I just like sort of disregarded. And so I was out there today and I was going to talk about it until the little, you know, mock avian creature assaulted me. Well, it didn't assault me or accost me. It was just, it was there. I was there and I got uncomfortable. So I left. Um, and the tree on the left has a lot of dead branches towards the front that like point towards the house. I'm like, what's that about? I have to look into that, right? And then the tree on the right, I was looking to see if I saw any dead branches. And I thought that there was a dead branch, but it isn't. It just like it's this really long branch that doesn't branch out into any branches. And so because of that, it looks dead because it's like, well, here's this long branch and nothing really coming off of it. But if you look at it, it's like few and far between, very sparse branching out on that sort of main branch. And then all of the ones that do branch out are flowering. And that reminds me of the nine of something in the Dysology deck, which is, let me find it actually. Why not? I actually like don't have an extremely abundant amount of time. I got about an hour. Well, technically less than an hour. Um, I'll take it as it is. I think it's the nine of clubs. I was gonna say spades, but then I saw the nine of spades. I'm like, yeah, no, not that one. I was actually gonna say clubs first. Nine of clubs, nine of clubs. Here it is. No, it's not the nine of clubs. Hold up, because now we gotta read these. Is it a 10? Or is it an 8? I thought it was a 9 because, oh, it's the Jack of Hearts. It's the Jack of Hearts. I thought it was a 9 because I thought the number on the card mirrored that echo, or it echoed that energy of nearing completion. Oh, I didn't even take the other cards. I forgot. Oh, well. Wasn't meant to be. So the Jack of Hearts, it's an inn that welcomes weary travelers, a hot tub that soaks all one's worries away, and a sly grin. I've been seeing that hot tub ad so much. It's medically proven that those who hot tub more have reduced stress. And it's like, yeah, but I don't know. I'm tired of seeing that ad. It keeps popping up. I'd like to support the content creators. I started doing it more consciously last year when everything was happening. I'm like, you know what? If me watching this ad brings some kind of revenue to the people who are keeping me entertained right now, then it's the least I could do. But there are some ads where I'm just like, I want to support, but I don't want to watch this ad. And so I'm like, I hope I hit another one later. So the thing about this card, though, is that it's like it's strategically positioned along a very arduous and long journey path, and it presents one everything that they would desire or everything that they would need or want. And yeah, it's that hot tub ad that I don't like. It's medically proven to reduce stress, and where we come to this place stressed and like under so much pressure and needing a little bit of reprieve. But it's like we end up overindulging, we end up overstaying, and that's the sly grin at the end. It's strategically positioned to sort of keep people on a journey from finishing it. And it was like, if the journey is, let's say, 10% into the journey, you hit a rest stop, or like 2%, 5%, 7%, 10%, 12%, 15%, 20%, 35%, 50%. And then after 50% through the journey, you hit another rest stop at like 80%. And so you've just gone 30% of the journey with no rest, with no real reprieve, with sort of like constant back to back to back lessons. Or so when you finally hit that rest stop, it's like, oh, well, like I'm good here. Like I don't know how much longer I'm gonna have to go. It was a long time since I had a break before. I think I'm gonna stay here for a while. And then it's like you start to gather moss. Who said that? It was Lauren. Lauren B. Untitled Tarot in the Pisces reading. Because she was like, "You're looking real mossy," I think. um, and it's like we get so mossy that we start to develop roots. And we end up sort of in this constant tower energy because we're not moving, because we've stopped moving. But it's like the divine is continuously trying to remind us, like, this isn't where you stop. This is not the end of your journey. You still have more to go. It's like, what's his, I don't even remember whose woods these are. I think I know his house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep. This is the end. Like I have miles to go before I sleep. Well, this is the end where you go sleep and then you never finish the journey. If you've ever seen Spirited Away, it's kind of like that energy. Very much so that energy. But everything was empty. Nothing that this energy provides is of substance. And again, that's why the sly grin is there. It's strategically positioned to sort of haunt those who would otherwise continue moving. And it's a lot, it preys on a lot of human ness. It gives us a lot of what we want and what we need and need, and it keeps us complacent. And it's again, it's like a very little substance. So that's what, but this branch, it reminded me of that because like there was so much of the branch before it branched off and into a smaller branch that actually had buds. Like it's one of the main branches. So it doesn't have a bunch of like buds all over it. And I was like, why is it like this? I was like, because I looked at it and I thought it was dead. Okay. I found my way back to where I started. I was like, that was a long tangent. I'm surprised I didn't get lost. As the branches as the branches continue to grow and extend beyond the heights, so do the roots spread beneath the ground, seeking new places to settle and migrate. The Spirit of Pentacles propagates from this place of origin as the innocent makes the journey from birth through the many places of learning. The seeker is urged to understand that there is a time to stand firm as well as a time to move. They must not cave into the pressures of lower standards or expectations, but neither should they stay bound to dry and decaying beliefs, which, like dead branches, yield no life. In addition, they should not dismiss the ancestral wisdom of their roots, which benefits the flowering upon the boughs. The tree of life faces them directly, yet they may look either to the past or the future, unwilling to face what is necessary to move ahead. The past can be helpful only if the unproductive is discarded. Likewise, looking too far into the future can be fruitless. The student learns and grows and participating in activities that bring him truth. And then we got the Eight of Pentacles. So it's like to continue, this is the energy of a breakthrough. So here we have this card, which again, with the thing about dead branches, it brings up the energy of that Jack of Hearts, which is like a nighty page, a page night of heart cups energy, where it's like if you're feeling it, you can put your all into it. But when you start to get disillusioned or dispassionate, or when it presents something that kind of sort of breaks the illusion a little bit, you can lose all the fire you have in there, or all that you've invested sort of emotionally, all that sort of lures you in, right? It's like it's water. I was gonna say it's like some like Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces energy. Girl, that's water. Okay. um, but that's what the Jack of Hearts like plays on, right? It's like, oh, I know that like this isn't bringing you what you thought it would. So here's something else that looks exciting. And you're like, ooh, like, and then you start to like project all these things onto that, or you start to hold on to comforts that you weren't finding Cancer, right? Because Cancer is about comfort. Pisces is the projection. Scorpio, in this case, it feels like not wanting to be disturbed. It's like I found a place that I can exist peacefully and nothing is whatever. So I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna be fixed here, fixed water. Hey. But that's not the end. And this branch on the tree, it looked like, again, that like it doesn't remind me of that card because it is that energy of the end. It reminds me of that card because it's like that's the type of branch where you would put an in there. Like you would try to get something else to look like it's occupying that space, right? You would get like if they had tree fillers that you can just strap onto a branch. I'm sure somebody does, like you would put a tree filler there because it didn't naturally grow a bunch of these sort of offshoots off of it, right? It's a very sort of pathy path, pathy journey. It's a pathy journey Well, no, it's a not pathy journey because I feel like a pathy journey would have a lot of offshoots. Anyway, this is talking about like that. This is where we can be susceptible to that Jack of Hearts energy. Eight of Pentacles is telling us to keep going. We're 80%. Oh, I just like accidentally came up with 80%. I unintentionally came up with 80%, but this is 8 out of 10 pentacles, right? We're 80% of the way there. There's only 20% more to go. You can stop here. You can like de-stress, you can unwind, but don't forget to continue moving. Now, overall, though, because the Eight of Pentacles into the Divine Tower, it feels like the energy of like a big break or um, a sudden break in the clouds. It feels like you may get rewarded in a greater quantity sooner than you expected. And as I'm seeing it, it's like this little frog is like inside of this thing somewhere, turning this itty bitty gear, but trying to generate power for the whole tower. And it's like if you think of like a clock tower and all the giant gears that they must have in there, and then if you think of one that's like smaller than a frog, like how many times would the frog have to get this small gear to like completely move, rotate, to complete a revolution before it turns like a bigger gear? Like frog gear has 10 steps, big gear has 1,000 steps. That's like what, 100 times the frog would have to do. Hold up, wait, girl, math. What is math? Or is that the other way? Anyway, because my brain ain't there right now. My brain is here where things get weird. Oh, look, oops. Well, there's a card on the floor. I just popped it onto the floor. Picked it up in reverse. Eight of Pentacles in reverse. Don't do that. I mean, it's your life. Do what you want to do because you're going to do what you want to do regardless. But, sometimes it's within our best interest to work a little harder because it feels like, again, like we're almost there. Wheel of Fortune and the Serpent. Oof. It's like this is a sort of continuing to move the small gear, even if we don't know how it's powering this energy. And then this is the energy that it sort of like kind of gets tired and it just like rests. It's like it throws itself onto the gears, the machinery. But the thing about this, the sorcerer card in this deck, more often than not, it reminds me of perspective. Because it's like if we are of the type where we can't be as easily tempted off path, where we can't be as convinced to spend our lives at a rest stop, then it becomes a lot flatter. Oops, there we go. It becomes a lot flatter. But if we're more easily tempted, or if we're in a space where we could use that break, then it's like this flat thing, it comes to life and then it's able to do all kinds of stuff that like a picture shouldn't be able to do. And under these energies, whether you move forward or you sort of, but depending on the path you take, they're both concerning this Nine of Cups. And then here's the Five of Pentacles. So this is where I'm going to stop for this. It's all concerning this Nine of Cups. And again, it's like there are so many different approaches, so many different rings, so many different orbitals around this thing that it's like it almost requires them to be fulfilled. There's 4 orbitals here, which is a full electron, right? So we're not dealing with like hydrogen or helium. Everything after hydrogen or helium has like an outer shell of 8, I believe. I'm pretty sure. And so there are a lot of sort of things that we need to have satisfied to feel like we've gotten a true wish fulfillment. It's like it's a multifaceted sort of situation here. And with this Eight of Pentacles, it's like these are the facets and situations where we feel like we have some kind of power. These are the ones where we don't really have any power. And with the Spirit of Pentacles, we're not new to manifestation or a spiritual journey or something like that, right? We're not necessarily the new kid on the block. And so with this energy, it's like as long as we continue to act and move where the divine um, asks us to, challenges us to, invites us to, then it's like these other things will kind of sort of naturally move on their own. And so we don't have to worry about controlling everything, or we don't have to worry about having our hand like all up in this. We can sort of surrender, we can release, we can relax more. And then it's like we can rest when we need to, right? Because, like the Spirit of Pentacles said, we move when it's time to move, we stop when it's time to stop. It's like we have to ground ourselves as we expand outward. If there's more roots than there are branches, I was going to say the tree would die, but I don't know. It's easier to, like, if there's more branches than there are roots, either the tree is going to get top heavy and it's not going to have the foundation anchored into the ground to keep itself up, or it's not going to have enough roots to supply all of those branches, like all the way out here, energy. So they're going to die. Either the whole tree is going to start to decay because it tries to evenly divide everything that it has, or some areas are going to die, right? And it's like it's a similar energy if we get branch, or if we get root heavy, and if we're light on branches, right? Maybe it's like it causes growths within the tree because it has all of this excess sort of um, resources. Girl, my brain. It has excess from the roots, and without like the branches, that energy doesn't have anywhere to go. Just like, when you're a person and you get more calories than you burn, you kind of sort of you get bigger, right? But it causes growths within the tree that's not exactly healthy for the tree either. So it's about balance. And so there are these times when we expand our consciousness, or where we grow higher. But then there are also these times where we sort of ground it more as well. Now, with that moat energy that came out yesterday, as it was spinning like positive, negative, and as that body of water was connecting around it and it was reacting like positive, negative, like it's an energy of simultaneous expansion. And so when we expand more up top and when we simultaneously ground more on the bottom, it creates this more harmonistic sort of uh, journey forward. It's like this instead of like this, right? Like this is expansion, this is grounding, this is expansion, this is grounding, right? You sort of like do both at the same time. But there's still going to be moments of pause if you do both at the same time, probably. I don't know. And that's what this is. This is talking about sort of navigating that cycle a little bit more smoothly, or getting caught up in either the growth phases or the grounding phases. And I think one of the things that I would do a lot earlier in my journey, especially like, so I never compared myself to my friend in like a competitive way, but I would say that I compared myself in a like, because it gave me an opportunity to think about what I was doing from a different perspective, right? And it wasn't like comparison in a weird way. It's like how I do here. Like if I'm talking about something, if I'm saying something, then in my own brain, I'm also like, am I doing this? Like what am I doing right now? Is this applicable for me? Am I saying something or experiencing something right now that I need to take in myself, is what I mean. Um, and so there was one point when she was in a period of expansion, and the period of expansion that she was in, for me, it echoed or mirrored a period of expansion in that similar way that I had already done. And so, and then because she always asks me, like, is there anything that I can do to help? Like, do you need me for anything? And some, I'll always be like, no. And then I'll be like, but like, I'm going through this and this and this and this. And it's like, yeah, girl, I needed you. Thank you. Um, but at that moment and at that time, she was in a period of like deep healing, like some deep, deep, deep healing, some things that were being brought to her awareness that I was like, okay, whew. And I was like, I'm not really doing anything that deep right now. I was in a period of refinement. And so I think a lot of times we can sort of experience these periods of growth, expansion, healing, like this bigger stuff. And we can kind of sort of get hooked onto it. Or we view that with such a lens that when we come into periods of refinement and fine tuning and grounding a lesson, so that like we don't just like forget it as we move forward. I've been there, done that plenty of times. That's why integrate was my word for 2020. Because I'm like, I'm tired of like repeating these lessons because like I forget that I already know what to do in these situations. Um, And so I guess it was like also appreciating those moments and those times of refinement just as much, because that's what really shifts the paradigm. I feel like because that's the grounding, right? When we ground it, it shifts our reality. I want to say it shifts our reality more because it changes our sort of like default response. It changes our default nature, right? When you come into awareness of something, it's the beginning, because now when you encounter a situation, you can do something different. But when you ground that awareness, it's like you are different. So instead of choosing or having to consciously choose different in a situation, you just naturally respond differently. And that's where we ground all of this healing and we ground all of this expansion to the point where we're operating in our healed selves without consciously having to do it. It's just like, the new us. Um, and because it's the new us, again, it sort of changes the whole game. Because now, from that base point, from the inside internally, from the space in which everything grows, it's different. It's been changed. It's been renovated. It's been remodeled. It's been aerated and irrigated. And maybe that's aerated when you like stir up the soil. So, like, I don't know, things can happen. I'm not a farmer. Um, so, yeah, this is appreciating those periods of expansion and the periods of grounding. This can be caught up in either. It can have a certain perspective of either. So, like, if the grounding thing for you isn't as glorious, and it kind of sort of wasn't for me for a while, especially after like what I was experiencing. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm not depressed. What? Like I want more of that, like large scale stuff. But it was just as important to ground it anyway. It can either get caught up in either phase, either the sun phase expansion or the moon phase of grounding, or the sun can be grounding and the moon can be expansion. They kind of sort of they can flip either way, depending on sort of the nature of the beast, I guess. Then we can kind of sort of like get sort of tied up in it and sort of stop. Or again, like, if we're like, oh, this journey is hard, healing is never over, so I'm just gonna stop. Right. So again, with this full orbital on the outside, or maybe that's spirit, because it's reminding me of something like a carbon atom. It's reminding me of an atom that can form up to four bonds. And so if you have four electrons in your outer shell, like that's four out of eight, you got half. So then these other ones from outside, they come in and they share. Are they all touching a different ring? No, these two are on the same ring, and these two are on the same ring. So the top and bottom and left and right are holding the same ring, but then it's these diagonals that are sort of free. So either way, we take care of what we take care of, and spirit comes in and fills in the rest. Spirit might take care of the diagonals because they come in at a weird angle that I don't think you're going to be able to fit a whole person in. And then that leads us to the Five of Pentacles, which I had that dream about. And again, it's sort of like carrying through this energy of like either we're hitting a period of refinement or we're hitting a period of growth and expansion, seemingly away from or out of something else. But in reality, it's like it's feeding back into that thing in some way. And I love that the Ankh is here. We got that the fish of knowledge and wisdom. We have the Jonah basically in the belly of this fish. And then we have this Ankh, ooh, excuse me, on the outside that's connected in here somewhere. It kind of reminds me, oh, and it's a similar color. It reminds me of this Nine of Cups. It's like the Ankh is connected in there somewhere, but it isn't immediately apparent how or where. And I'm going to read the Five of Pentacles because I wanted to read the Five of Pentacles just to see if this book would give any insight as to that dream. So, in the belly of the golden fish of wisdom, the innocent grows beyond the I into the we, finding the true meaning of life. Stability reigns with mind, body, and spirit as he plummets the inner depths to embrace all being. His focus expands to planetary, environmental, cosmic levels with the financial security and spiritual understanding overflowing into sharing wealth in a manner that benefits beyond the personal into the collective. He ventures within to comprehend all life, illustrated by the Ankh that rises from the tail of the golden fish of knowledge. The innocent, the seeker in each, navigates through the great history of all being to discover trees blooming in the continuous flow of life, all joined beyond any fictitious boundaries or limits. Here, he is an explorer of consciousness, embracing a humanitarian and environmentally compassionate view of life. Giving thanks for the abundant gifts of success and a good fortune achieved, he looks beyond personal happiness and is ready to share his abundance. There is an increased interest in protecting air, sea, and land, as well as providing aid for the less fortunate victims of social injustice and natural disaster. The innocent has reached the end of a long road of struggle to achieve success in financial matters and social recognition. It is a time to share the wealth. I love that it said that the innocent reached a long road as we talk about that Jack of Hearts again, and like this energy, which is navigating that like, should I stay or should I go? How long am I gonna stay here? How long am I gonna wait? It's like we stay in some place so long sometimes we get amnesia. Like when you walk into a room but you forget why you walked into that room. It's like, what was I doing here? And I am actually gonna pull one of these the funsies. The Lady of Pentacles is under that Five of Pentacles, by the way. Oh, it's not exactly the same, but they're both sort of within a certain space. This is it's reminding me of like Inception, but instead of dreams, it's like a journey within a journey. Like we're in self here, and like this is in self within self. And then it looks like in this in self within self, She's coming out of whatever this is. And it reminds me of that Leviathan, the Ten of Cups, the thing that exists. Hey, Mimi, I'm doing pretty good. How are you? The thing that exists within us at the core, that which is incorruptible. And the book, oh, flowers. It reminds me of the Dream Angel. Also, there's a little bit of eclipse energy because here's the sun and the moon, and then here's the star, sort of inside. And then we have the book, which is the knowledge and the wisdom. Shout out to the hermit. Shout out to the erudite. And then the flowers. The flowers are making me think of the emperor for some reason. I don't know. Glad to hear it. You said you go looking for a car today, right? All the best. Okay. Yeah. So two cards came out. The Seven of Spades and the Ten of Clubs. Taking the plunge into an ice cold tank, dissolution of the self, integration and separation. And then nearly awakened hidden power, breath that takes the shape of one's truest desires and a commitment to self. This, like with that Ten of Cups Leviathan, it's feeling like that nearly awakened sort of hidden power energy. And it's also interesting because in the description, okay, in the description it said that the ankh grows out of the tail, but the ankh is above like all of those tail fins, and it's the fish of knowledge or wisdom. It's the golden fish of wisdom. And so it's like it's something that exists even beyond the realm of wisdom, which is why we kind of sort of got to go this deep within self to really find it. Oh, it reminds me of the Emperor because the last time I saw the Emperor and the vice versa, he was in a space of, I gotta get ready. Last time I saw the Emperor, he was in the space of the last few times I've seen the Emperor actually, in the space of like wanting to hand over the Ankh and the other thing that he holds on to, like looking for a successor type of energy. And the first time I saw the Emperor, it was with the Ten of Wands. And again, it speaks to that journey. It speaks to an arduous journey. It speaks to a long journey that is full of many burdens that at some points will have you asking the divine, why me? Why is it this hard? Why is it this difficult? Ten of Wands. It's the Ten of Clubs right here. Nearly awakened hidden power, breath that takes the shape of one's truest desires and a commitment to self. It's a test of that commitment to self. That's what this is. That's what both of these are. It's like different aspects of the test of this commitment to self. Once the commitment to self is proven, it's like, boom, that's when this divine tower comes in. It's like everything changes. And we may feel that like we're not even done with whatever work that we're currently working on. Like we may feel that we haven't even completed what it is that we thought we had to complete. But what's being tested most right now is the commitment to self. It's the commitment to healing. It's the commitment to your journey. Because if you can prove yourself committed, then you can handle anything that comes your way. Now you're in a space of being able to welcome more than what you have the current capacity to receive. But it's that sort of continuous expanding and grounding energy. Because as you receive, and that's why it's the Five of Pentacles. The Five of Pentacles in this deck carries an energy that takes it into the Six of Pentacles as a giver rather than the receiver, right? The Five of Pentacles, the vibe of the Five of Pentacles in a lot of decks is like you hit this period of a rough time. You're outside in the cold on your own, all alone. Ain't got nobody to call your own. And then the Six of Pentacles is like something comes in and it gives to you while you're in this space of need. But in this deck, you're coming into the space of giving. And whatever you're giving, it flows from the inside. And it's like she's the sixth pentacle. And I want to say that it would have the capability to also rouse what is inside of others. What did I just put? Oh, here they are. But yeah, it's like when you prove yourself ready, you can receive things, you can get things, you can be challenged in ways that you don't even know how to begin to respond to. But you've already proven that whatever it is that you need to do, you will do. That as you're guided, you will do as you're guided. That you won't sort of stall out or run away or like do that Jonah thing, right? Like Jonah had to spend some time in a whale before he was like, okay, like fine, I'm gonna go and do what you told me to do. But when you come out of it, I feel like that's the mastery over life that it gives you, because you're no longer someone who is so easily tempted and swayed by the events and the goings on of what happens in your external environment. Right? That's why this is inside. It's like inside. And this Lady of Pentacles establishes her domain inside, in a space that is completely separate from all that is outside, in a space that is imperturbable from what occurs and happens outside of herself. And it reminds me of like while we're waiting for the world to be rewritten, as we hit, hey Eve, okay, I'm almost done. Um, as we're in the space of allowing the world to be rewritten, as we hit these pause points, as our reality is sort of buffering, if we have this approach where we can expand and ground simultaneously, where we sort of continue our work, it's that moat, right? As things sort of shift and change internally, there's something that is reacting outside that also shifts and changes. But what it does is it's like it holds that tension. It maximizes that chemistry. But that space of separation is where like the potential is stored. And yeah, if you're the continuous type, then it's like your world loads actively. It's like as you move, other things move. I had the chariot. Ooh, it's right here. Oh my gosh, I gotta stop. Oof. Okay, we're just gonna make this quick. I'm gonna pull before and after, or I'm gonna look at before and after the chariot. Oh, it's right here. Thank you. Oh, this is interesting because we see the card we saw yesterday. Then it's the back though. The back of the Nine of Pentacles. We saw the front yesterday. Again, it's internal. It's the internal space that matters. We have the back of the chariot where you can see the road literally forms under the chariot. And then it's the back of the Page of Swords. The back of the Page of Swords emphasizes that in the space of the storm, in the space of the darkness, he can see where the skies are clearing. I love that because this is that energy. It's like if we have the trust, if we have the ability, if we have the capacity to surrender, then it's like things can fall into place as we move forward. But if your trust or if your faith would waver, if you have to know everything before you do anything, if you struggle to be vulnerable and if you struggle to surrender, then you're going to hit this buffering point. You're going to hit this loading point where it loads everything before you're released to start moving. And again, like that's this energy. And so if you find yourself challenged beyond what you have the capacity or the experience to do, again, like, know that you're not challenged in this way for you to like fail, or like, it's not that you can't handle it, right? And it's like there's an opportunity for exponential growth. But whenever we have exponential growth, there's also exponential healing. There's also exponential grounding. There's also exponential release. And if we're resistant to any of the parts, then we can experience delay in the remaining parts. Right? You could be like, "Oh, I'm really ready to receive this new job." But if your spending habits are still trash, and if it's important that you do something with this expanse of finances, then it may be delayed. Your abundance may be delayed if there is a calling on it, or if there's something that you're supposed to do with it. If you're the type of person, it's like you win the lottery, but like 5 years later, you're on the street somewhere and you don't have anything because you didn't use it wisely. And it's like there are some people who almost seem like they're worse off after they won than they were before. And again, now that you've won the lottery, it has probably significantly elevated your standards of living. And if you didn't handle it in a, it's not conservative, sustainable. If you didn't handle it in a sustainable way, then it's like, okay, your standards of living have just been extremely elevated. And because you were unwise, your funds, your resources are going to crash, are going to plummet. And then you're not going to be able to maintain what it is that you found here. That's why it's almost like it changes us before. Because it's like, who would want to do that to people? Is this the back of the Queen of Cups? The back of the Queen of Cups is at the bottom of the deck. She's looking at this Three of Swords heartbreak. The Queen of Pentacles is behind her with the Ace of Swords. When cards come out like this, especially when it's these cards, I like to look at what they're looking at. So this is what she's focused on, right? Because if you see this space, she's looking at this Three of Swords. Queen of Cups is so hurt in this Three of Swords that her back is turned to everything that needs her attention. The Queen of Pentacles, we see her looking forward. And then we all, oh my gosh, what? Queen of Pentacles with the Ace of Swords and the Ace of Pentacles. And they're all in the daytime. But again, it's this energy of like, it's established inside, internally, before it's allowed to come into a similar magnitude externally. Top of the deck is the Knight of Swords. It's giving me similar energy to that Page of Swords. But now instead of just standing there and like observing and creating the root, it's like moving. Oh, snap. Well, you never know. I mean, somebody got to win it. People always be like, the odds of winning are like 1 in like a trillion. And I'm like, yeah, well, somebody has to be the one, right? So why not me? Why not me? Is there any skill in the lottery? So why can't I just be the one? Why can't I be the one? I think I thought about it. I was in not Kroger, Trader Joe's. It was some grocery store that we don't have here. Um, and I passed a little like scratch off thing, and I was like, "Ooh, I could buy some." And my friend was like, "No, come on." And he was like, "You already ain't got no money. Why you spending more money on this?" And I'm like, "I'm only gonna buy one. I'm not gonna be addicted." I bought scratch off cards with my sister one summer, and it was just fun to do something with my sister, honestly. So every now and then, like, we take a few dollars down to the gas station. I don't remember if I ever won anything, but I also don't know if like I would be allowed to win the lottery. I think within, because every time I've thought about it, it's always this question of like, if I won, would I still do the things that I need to do? Or would I just like say, screw everything, I'm off to not worry about any of this and enjoy my life? So for me, I guess, internally at least, it's been about reaching this point where even when my needs are met as they have been met, what is it for me to do in this life? And if I reach a point of abundance that would stop me from doing all that I need to do, then, you know, would that happen? Scared money don't win money. Oh, snap. They say you got to spend money to make money. They also say, though, abundance is a frequency. And when you tap into the frequency of abundance, then it finds its way to you. Just like how things get in the gaps in that Nine of Cups energy. It's like it's too complicated and twisty for man to navigate. So we take care of the things that we take care of, and then the divine intercedes and meets us, or the divine intercedes and meets us. Right? There we go. Ooh, it's a dude I ain't seen in a minute. Ah. It's this Five of Cups again. I've gotten, so today it's cards that we've seen quite frequently. Thank you again, E, for this deck. I love it. I feel like this deck is like so like me. So my energy. It's like I feel like this is speaking back to that Five of Pentacles. So whatever it is that we're pursuing it from an earthly space. Oh my gosh, I gotta go. We're pursuing it from an earthly space with all of our knowing, right? And for whatever the situation is, our knowing, our knowledge, our wisdom won't get us fully what we want. That's why spirit is here interceding with the dove, and it's heading into a space that the fish are heading out of. The card that came out, the two cards. Oh, wow, I haven't seen this one before. We get the Lord of Pentacles and the Lord of Cups. The Lord of Pentacles is one that, thank you. The Lord of Pentacles is one that we saw like from the moment I opened this deck for the first few times, every time I used it, the Lord of Pentacles came out. And the flame, the blue flame of truth within the Lord of Pentacles splits the veil. It's almost like it evaporates it. It's like whenever there's a fire and the air gets all wavy, like the same phenomenon, but not behind mirages. It's like the mirage or the because what happens, I believe, is like warm air rises, cold air floats. So the hot air closest to the fire rises, and as the hot air rises, it causes distortions. This distortion from the hot air around his blue flame of truth actually clears the distortion that is the nature of the veil. And in this Lord of Cups, we can see from the inside, he's filling this cup outside of him. So not only is there a truth within self that burns, that is recognized by spirit in a way that begins to part the veil and it begins to welcome us in. There's also something here from the internal that can begin to really manifest on the external, but it's not manifesting on the external in the Lord of Pentacles way, right? The Lord of Pentacles is associated with fire. The Lord of Cups is water, but it's a water that's made manifest on earth. So it's almost like earthy. So it feels like there are multiple veils. Like there's the veil between our internal and our external, but then there's also the veil between the internal and the divine. And it seems like it's opening on both sides. And that's not a new energy. It reminds me of the last times I was using those angel cards at my buddy's place before I came back. Um, when at first it was like this story of how, back in the day, a long time ago, man lived with the divine, and Azazel taught man how to make weapons, and then man got weird and turned their weapons on the angels, And then that's when the angels separated themselves, and that's when the veil came. And it was like this space of some internal working that's matching a working in spaces that we aren't necessarily privy to. And as we unlock the things within us, it also causes this quantumly entangled twisting and unlocking on that side. So now, again, it's the energy of the divine heart, the higher heart, and the lower heart. And as our lower heart cooperates more with the higher heart because of the things that it needs to do to purge its system, and as it becomes more capable of holding those, or as it becomes more capable of holding those higher heart functionalities, the higher heart is like almost intrinsically connected to the divine. So now through the heart space, it creates this waterfall, this fountain up to the divine. Also, in the Five of Cups card, or in the Five of Pentacles card, I think it said something about, we're reaching a certain level physically. And as we do that, it came out today in some way, I can't fully remember. But it's like how our physical world and reality through the space of the work that we do then connects us to the divine. It creates this bridge, right? But also it's like it awakens something within us. And it's that nearly awakened hidden power. Now, the ice cold plunge, it's like a sensory deprivation tank, but it's a spiritual sensory deprivation tank. But this deprivation tank, it dissolves the self. It splits the ego, it splits the mind, it splits the heart into pieces that we can then look at and go, this is me, this is not me. This was sort of imprinted upon me, this was impressed upon me, this is something that was projected on me. And in that space, we get to reassemble ourselves in a new way, freer of everything that sort of like latched onto us and attached itself to us as we live life. A blip of light at the heart of a black hole, progenitors and a primordial pools at the bottom of the deck. But I feel like there are pieces of ourselves, both light and dark, that we would reject. And as long as we continue to reject those pieces, then we're sort of always out of balance. And it doesn't allow, because it's like a conduit or a channel that's sort of being engraved. It's being dug out right now. It's like irrigating, right? And we have to connect the plot of land that we're irrigating to the body of water in a smooth fashion so that the water flows through all of those. It reminds me that's the moat. It's the moat because it's the same energy as the angel in that temperance card, bringing the water around the heart and then like closing the two cups together, and then it being this sort of circle of water around this golden heart space that forms this generator thinking that powers up a new body or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what these energies are. I just say them how they come to me, and then I live life, and I'm like, oh, okay. All right. Last card, the day of longest light or night, a garment for all occasions, and filling a gap. Filling a gap. Yesterday, it was like it's important to keep the gap there. Today, it's filling the gap. But that's the energy that the divine was coming out with. It's like we take care of the things that we can take care of, and then the divine comes in and fills the gap. So, the chief delight of a malicious rooster is to crow at 3 o'clock a.m. Such roosters always have a voice like a fire alarm and live to a green old age. From the Rooster, the Judge's Library. The chief delight of a malicious rooster is to crow at 3 o'clock a.m. Such roosters always have a voice like a fire alarm and live to a green old age. That could be anything, girl. Well, what it does is it instills a sense of panic before. It's like it instills a sense of panic in a space that I hope my grandma is late because I'm not ready before it's time. But it does it intentionally. It does it with the cause for the purpose of instilling panic. And in the panic of being like thinking that 3 a.m. is the morning, it causes us to sort of react and respond. It's like that's when you get ready, you get dressed, you drive half an hour, 45 minutes to go to work, you pull on the door and it's locked, and then you look at your phone or you're watching, like, oh, it's like 4 o'clock in the morning. What? That type of energy. And it's, again, it's the malicious rooster. So it's the intention behind it. We can get forewarning of something so that we can prepare ourselves, so that we know to like do the work and to bolster our spiritual defenses and to make sure that we're good where we can, or to be more aware of the things that are about to start transpiring in our reality. But it's an energy of like calling the game before the game is over. It's an energy of that in. It tries to get us to exit or enter a transition before the environment has sort of signaled that time. And it can cause us to do all kinds of things. It can cause us to think that, this is the best that things are going to get for a long time. And that means that things are about to get a lot worse and blah, 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 blah. I don't know. Or it hurries people to certain like positions or judgments or opinions before they come into the space to sort of naturally be able to form them on their own. I guess it can play a little bit into that twisted hierophant where it's like, I'm going to tell you what to think. I'm going to tell you how to feel before anything transpires. So as soon as you see it, you're already acting in alignment with what I want, with what I believe. And it shortcuts our ability, depending on how much we subscribe to it. It shortcuts our ability to be in that moment and to discover the truth of what it has to unfold for ourselves. And when we talk about spiritual spaces, and depending on the platform of the individual, now they have a mass amount of people coming into a space, manifesting, believing in, creating, welcoming into their reality an experience that they don't want, that's a lot darker than what could have actually transpired. But, as like we give over, we surrender our power when we so willingly believe what someone else is selling us. And it's like, especially like when you come into a spiritual space where, because of your knowing, your belief has a little bit more power, or even like significantly more power than when you were more unaware. And it's like, now you've been convinced to use this very thing that could be your salvation against yourself, to keep you further enslaved, to keep you further oppressed, and keep you feeling further powerless. It's like, well, if you were powerless to a shady world government before, well, what good? Like, after everything that's transpired and after what some people have said about what's transpiring, then did it like empower you? Or, yeah, I'm going to go off the grid. I'm going to forsake. I'm like, yeah, I don't believe that I have to sacrifice all the comforts of living and sacrifice the comforts of human progress and evolution in a technological society to go live in the backwoods somewhere off the grid with no Wi-Fi, no electricity, no, like, I'm not trying to go back to 1492 or 1275 or like 3000 BC. My belief is going to put me in a position where we continue to move forward while we simultaneously address everything that is arising to be addressed right now. So we move forward into this reality that we want. I'm not going to sit here and manifest something and then run away or project a whole bunch of dark, warped, twisted, distorted things onto it when the world shows us what needs to be addressed as we move into the space that we want to move into. How are you manifesting world peace when the world, or different places of the world, comes to your awareness of how it's hurting, and you choose to ignore it, you choose to call it an illusion, you choose to distance and bypass it? Like, this is the road to get what you want. This is what needs to be addressed. This is what needs to be taken care of. This is what needs to be made right. This is the gap that needs to be filled to get you where you want to be. Because as long as this continues, you're not going to have what you want. That's why it's coming to your awareness. Like, this is what you asked for. When you asked for, like, if you ask for Z and you're at F, you're also asking for G through Y to get to Z. Like, and that's the sort of road that is formed under the chariot as we move forward. because there are things that we don't know are blocking us. There are things that we don't know are limiting us. There are things that we don't even like. There are ways that we're traumatized in that we don't even know that we're traumatized in. And then you enter a situation and you have all these feelings and emotions and you're like, whoa, like, where's this coming from? Is somebody projecting this? Am I under like spiritual attack? And it's like, no, girl, it's something for you to heal. It's something for you to work on. It's something for you to be aware of as you continue along your journey. It's happening for your betterment. And sometimes the divine will use, like that divine tower, will use situations that can be a little heavier or that can be more challenging to navigate from a lesser awakened space, from a lesser conscious space, from a space where we're not willing to do what we need to do for ourselves because our self-love, our self-worth is a little lower lacking, to the point where whenever it comes time to do something challenging or hard or difficult, we'd rather give up. And it's like, well, if that's the limit of everything that you have and all that you want, then that's fine. That's your life. It's your journey. But if you want more, you're going to have to do more. And sometimes it's going to be challenging. Sometimes it's going to be difficult, but you're worth it. And after you get over it, you don't have to worry about it later, rather than being continuously subjected to it now, or being even more subjected to it because of now the power that you give this thing over you as you sort of head in the other direction. So anyway, I gotta go. I am already late, but fortunately, I ain't got the text that said I'm outside yet. So I'll catch y'all later. I hope you have a good whatever. Whenever you see this, I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope that when challenges and difficulties and situations and scenarios come your way, you see your path forward through it. Like that Page of Swords and that Nine of Pentacles, that you are internally established enough, that your connection to the divine is strong enough that you're open to being guided through it. Because the Page of Swords saw it. The Nine of Pentacles was sort of grounded within herself. But the Chariot is about movement. The Chariot was the significator, so that doesn't count. So what came out? The Knight of the Knight of Swords. In that same environment that the Page of Swords was in. They were both sort of facing the same way. It was the internal side. And now that we've seen the path, we know how to navigate it. It's like it reminds me of the card Liquid Light that carves its way through night. We're literally establishing constellations of stars within ourselves in these spaces where only darkness existed. All right. Whew, no problem. All right, gotta go. Bye. That got a little spicy at the end, but it's fine.